It looked like an ordinary parcel, a small brown box marked bike brakes, value $85. But when customs officers cut it open at a UK border depot, the air in the room changed. Inside the wrapping was a clear heat-sealed bag, and inside that, the black polymer frame of a handgun, complete with trigger, barrel, and magazine clip. A real weapon, capable of firing live ammunition, hidden inside the postal system. The address on the parcel led not to a factory or workshop, but to a residential street in Bradford, West Yorkshire. And the man behind it wasn't a career criminal or a gang boss. He was a former British soldier, a man who had once served in Afghanistan. His name was Wade Priestley. Over 3 months, Priestley smuggled at least 6 handguns and a shipment of ammunition into the UK, disguising them as bike and car parts. His plan was simple: import, assemble, and sell. His videos, set to music, showing the guns from every angle, made the weapons look glamorous, even exciting. But to the court that sentenced him, they were sickening. The first gun was discovered in November 2023, when Border Force officers at Coventry examined that small brown box from California. Instead of stopping the delivery, they made a decision. They would let the parcel continue and watch who came to collect it. Behind the scenes, detectives from the Yorkshire and Humber Regional Organised Crime Unit began working with US Homeland Security, the National Crime Agency, and UK Border Force. They didn't know it yet, but the man sending these parcels was already on their radar. Flight records showed Priestley had flown from Heathrow to Los Angeles earlier that month, spending 16 days in California. CCTV captured him inside a US postal facility, sending out multiple parcels marked with fake return addresses. They were small, discreet, and deliberately undervalued. Inside each, a handgun. The weapons were made of polymer, lightweight, partly plastic, difficult to detect, and capable of firing real rounds. When the package reached Bradford, police tracked its every move. It was delivered to a local address under surveillance, but Priestley never appeared. Investigators knew there would be more, and they were right. On January 5th, 2 more parcels were seized by US Homeland Security at Los Angeles Airport. Each contained a full handgun bound for West Yorkshire. On January 19th, another parcel, this time containing 20 bullets, was intercepted before it could leave the country. By now, Priestley had become the focus of a full international operation. But he hadn't stopped. On January 27th, a 4th parcel left California, again labelled as brake equipment. It was valued at $100 and addressed to a property in Halifax. Inside were the parts for 2 more handguns, 4 heat-sealed bags holding barrels, slides, and triggers. Once again, UK Border Force opened it, photographed everything, resealed the box, and allowed it to travel onto its destination. 4 days later, a silver Audi pulled up outside the Halifax address. Priestley stepped out, went inside, and minutes later re-emerged carrying a white cardboard box. He drove to a patch of waste ground nearby, doused the box in fluid, and tried to set it alight. He was destroying evidence, but he didn't know he was surrounded. Armed police vehicles closed in from every direction. As officers approached, Priestley rammed one of the unmarked cars and tried to flee, before jumping out and running. He was chased down and arrested moments later. Inside the burning box were the same firearm components intercepted by Border Force days earlier. What investigators uncovered next was even more disturbing. Messages on Priestley's phone revealed he had been communicating with a network of contacts across the north of England. Discussions about orders, stock, and deliveries, coded references to weapons, showed that these guns were being sold almost as soon as they arrived. The videos found on his device showed close-ups of the handguns being handled, loaded, and displayed like something to be admired. At Bradford Crown Court, prosecutor Andrew Stranick said the weapons were potentially lethal and capable of firing a live ammunition. He told the jury that Priestley had played a key role in bringing them into the country, buying them in the United States, and sending them home himself. Each parcel was part of a deliberate, repeated effort to smuggle guns past UK customs. The court heard how Priestley's background as a former soldier gave him both the knowledge and confidence to operate the way he did. He knew how firearms were assembled, how parts could be disguised, and how parcels could slip through inspection if labelled and packaged correctly. But despite the planning, he left a trail of evidence. His own name, his own bank cards, his flight records, every detail connecting him to the shipments he thought were hidden. Judge Sophie McCone said his actions were calculated and dangerous. Over a 3-month period, she told him, you conspired with others to bring lethal weapons into this country, weapons capable of killing and causing fear. You must have intended to sell them to other criminals where they would no doubt be used to demonstrate power, and potentially to kill. She paused, describing the footage he had made. It was sickening watching those videos. You glamorized the guns, you made them look desirable, but you didn't care about that, because you just wanted to make money. Priestley was sentenced to 9 years and 10 months in prison for conspiring to acquire and import firearms with fraudulent intent. Outside court, Detective Chief Inspector Al Burns, who led the investigation, praised the teamwork that stopped the weapons before they reached the streets. Our officers quickly identified Wade Priestley as the man behind this conspiracy, he said. These guns would have ended up in the hands of serious organized criminals where they would have posed a real danger to our communities. Thanks to the diligence and cooperation of agencies on both sides of the Atlantic, that didn't happen. The list of agencies involved was remarkable. US Homeland Security, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, US Customs and Border Protection, the US Postal Inspection Service, UK Border Force, the National Crime Agency and West Yorkshire Police all contributed. Every parcel Priestley sent was tracked, intercepted and disarmed. Detectives believe that if the weapons had slipped through, they would have ended up in the criminal networks of Northern England, used to threaten, intimidate or kill. The 6 guns he sent were part of a growing trend in modern smuggling, the import of so-called ghost guns. These are polymer-based firearms, often sent in component form, easily assembled and difficult to trace. In the wrong hands, they are deadly. For investigators, Priestley's case highlighted how dangerous this new wave of firearm smuggling can be. He wasn't part of a large organization. He was a single man with internet access, military experience, and contacts in the United States. He exploited the postal system to bring in real guns that, if not intercepted, could have armed gangs across the country. In his sentencing remarks, Judge McCone said, "In the UK, the purpose of these weapons can only be for crime. Crime in which people get killed, where innocent bystanders, including children, risk being shot." Her words cut through the courtroom. A man who once carried arms in service of his country was now in the dock for bringing those same weapons home. When police searched his address in Hoyle Ing Road, Thornton, they found flight tickets, postal receipts, and notes linking him directly to the shipments. There were drafts of his marketing videos, slow-motion clips of the guns he'd imported, set to music. The judge called them deeply disturbing, not only because of what they showed, but because they tried to make violence look appealing. For West Yorkshire Police and Border Force, this case was both a success and a warning. It proved the effectiveness of international collaboration, but it also showed how vulnerable global trade routes can be. A single man had almost succeeded in bringing 6 real handguns into the UK through ordinary mail. As Detective Chief Inspector Burns put it, "These weapons were stopped before they reached the streets, but the potential consequences are unthinkable. For now, the streets of Bradford and Halifax remain safer. Priestley will spend nearly a decade behind bars, but the investigation he inspired continues as police on both sides of the Atlantic work to identify who he planned to sell to and whether others are still trying to do the same. In the end, every parcel Priestley sent was intercepted. Every gun seized before it could vanish into the shadows of the black market. The system held, just, but for investigators, it was a reminder that danger can arrive quietly, hidden inside a parcel, labelled as something harmless. And it began, as one officer recalled, with a box that simply read, "Bike brakes. Value $85.